on that, folks?
You are correct, Joe. It's the first 20 days, fourth graders have to be tested.
The days don't start counting if you're full remote until you have kids in the building.
Yes, okay.
You're seeing streaming?
Thank you.
I see live now. Thank you. Wow, that is incredible. Thank you. So it was important. All right, thank you so much.
Past experience, that's
Well,
all.
we appreciate you. We're passing on the experience.
You're welcome. If you need something else, let me know.
All right, man, thank you. See you.
Okay, any other questions at this time? Okay, all right. And no other questions, we will move on to Cyber Academy.
All right, Mr. Quigley, I'm trying to reach the tech staff. I have not heard back from them, and I have someone checking live stream for me just to see if they can find it. So it's up to you. We can continue, or if you want to take a break until I can get to someone.
I think we can probably continue with Cyber and then make sure we get it squared away for the interviews.
Okay, yeah, Miss Porter actually, yeah, Miss Porter just said it is working. So if you guys get complaints of not hearing live stream, often what happens is while it is live, it's on the homepage for DPI YouTube. It's not listed as CSAB. So some people get confused because they don't understand that. But I have gotten confirmation that it is streaming. Okay, so now we are up with NC Cyber, and I believe Mr. Hill should be on the line, as well as some other staff.
Yes, good morning. This is Martez Hill, the Executive Director and Superintendent for the North Carolina Cyber Academy. With me this morning are Board President Joe Hammergren and Chief Operations Officer James Mullins. I would like to recognize President Joe Hammergren to provide an update on our upcoming interim assessments, and then recognize Mr. Mullins to give an overview of our enrollment. Madam President?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Hill and CSAB members. I just wanted to let you know that things are going very well at Cyber Academy. Beginning on October 22nd, we will be administering interim assessments in grades 4 through 8 and high school using the NC check-ins and the Case 21 assessments. They'll be administered 3 times during the school year, with the third one being cumulative. In our NC check-ins will be administered in English language arts in grades 4 through 8, in math grades 6 through 8, in science grade 8, and in high school math 1. For Case 21, these will be administered in math grades 4 through 5, in science grades 5, and high school biology and high school ELA. Our principals, our counselors, and our district testing coordinators are working with our students and parents to help families establish proper test-taking environments and to explain the importance and purpose of the interim assessments. We're letting them know that these assessments will help our teachers teach better and help our students learn better. We also want to let our parents and students understand that they have to have a proper time frame, and the expected time frame that it will take for these testing, and that they need to plan the best times in their school day to do that. We've also want to manage some of their expectations and let them know that we'll be supporting them. The teachers will have office hours during our testing window, during the dates to answer any of the family's questions. And teachers will be available during the testing to administer any and troubleshoot any issues. One of the big things that has been my mantra coming from a marketing standpoint in my background is measurement. And so I'm very excited to see that we are working towards finding some sort of measurements and being able to understand our progress and know where we can go from there. So we plan to make sure that the parents and students understand that these are part of their attendance requirements, and that they will need to further make sure that they actually do these testing because it's part of their instruction and learning as being part of an enrolled student with NCCA. So I'm very excited to see what these check-ins and case 21 assessments give us. So I look forward to seeing that.
If there are no questions specific to this, I would like to recognize Mr. Mullins.
Thank you, board members, Mr. Hill and Ms. Hammergren. In our report, we sent in that there's 2,570 students currently attending North Carolina Cyber Academy. And I would like to mention that once the permission was given to enroll an additional 1,000 students, at that time we had right at 2,300 kids on the wait list, and we reached out to every parent that was on the wait list, and of that wait list we enrolled 205 students, and the remaining 2,100 most said that they had already, their students had already started brick and mortar, and so they elected not to attend cyber. But of that 2,100, we have 335 that did ask us to put them on the wait list for the spring. So our current enrollment of 2,570 students, we enrolled 205 since we were the cap was lifted to add the additional 1,000. And since day one, student day one, we've withdrawn 78 students, which is down significantly from last year. So I'm happy about that. But of the 78 students that have withdrawn from cyber since day one, the majority of students have indicated that it was just too difficult, or there was a life change, or just a better schooling option. So right now, again, we have over 300 students on the wait list for the spring of the year, and so let's start reaching out to those parents again late November, early December for enrollment second semester. Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Mr. Mullins, this is,
Mr. Chair, board members,
Ms.
any questions?
yes, Mr. Hill. This is Sherry Reeves. So Mr. Mullins says 300 plus students on the wait list for spring. So I'm assuming you are no longer enrolling for this semester. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. So we said that we would stop enrolling September 30th, just so that kids aren't coming in too late into the curriculum.
Okay, further questions? Okay, I'd like to talk to the, I guess to Martez and the board about potentially moving the school to quarterly reports, continuing the monthly response and updates on questions in writing to Office of Charter Schools, but I don't feel that. It seems like things are trending in the right direction, and I'm interested in the pleasure of the board, but I think we could relieve ourselves and cyber of having to report monthly to the board, to the Charter School Advisory Board, and report to the office in writing, and should anything come up, the Office of Charter Schools will obviously let us know, and we'll have them come. Otherwise, we'd get a quarterly report from this group.
Alex, this is Sherry. I absolutely agree. And in fact, I'll make a motion that we move North Carolina Cyber Academy's reports to CSAB to quarterly with the continuation of monthly reports to the Office of Charter Schools.
And Hilda Parlay seconds that.
This is, Chairman, this is Bruce Friend. I just have a quick question. I'm just wondering if it would be possible should we invite both full-time virtual charters to give quarterly reports? Just because I'd like to continue, I guess I'd like to hear from both schools some of the progress being made and the good things that are happening, specifically with the increased enrollment and the pandemic. And I just didn't know if we could, I know that's not part of this motion, but would that be something we could do quarterly is here for both?
Say that again. Okay. Say that again, Bruce.
I was wondering.
Out there.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, at least on my end. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in favor of moving cyber to quarterly reports along with the monthly reports to the Office of Charter Schools. So I'm in favor of the motion. I guess my question was, or is, would it be beneficial to also ask the other full-time virtual school, the cyber, the K-12 school, to also come before us quarterly, not in just in a way to get updates, to see how things are going, how progress is going, how enrollment and student performance is. So I'm just throwing that out there as if you could have quarterly reports from both schools.
Yeah.
To give them both an opportunity to share with us the good things that are happening.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would, what's the interest of the board in that?
This is Jeanette Butterworth. I would be very interested in hearing from both schools on a quarterly.
This is Carol as well.
So Mr. Chair, should the motion be changed? This is Hilda.
I can amend the motion to say that in addition to cyber reporting to the School Advisory Board on a quarterly basis, that we'd also like to hear from North Carolina Virtual Academy on a quarterly basis.
I'll second that again. Hilda Parlay.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right. I expect we can do a voice vote for this, so we'll just go for that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right, great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, NC Cyber.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, we are now up to our application time. So I'm going to ask Dr. Jones to introduce that. Let me pull it up. All right, Dr. Jones.
Good morning, CSAB. I'm going to hit the highlights since we went in detail last interviews, particularly from this slide. The big takeaway is for the first round interview people, we have 3 recommendations are at your option: to advance to state board approval, to hold over to second round interview, or to deny. For our round 2 people, advance to state board for approval or advance to state board for denial. Ashley, next slide, please. These are our county updates again. We have 5 first round people the next 2 days and 3 second round interviews. Here are our returning applicants, 4 of which you will see the next 2 days. These are our CMO, EMO, and again, at your request, we tried to group them today. So today you'll see Torchlight Academy schools, 3 of those today. This is what the rest of round 1 looks like for October. In red, you will see the second round interviews. Skip to slide 15, I think it is. There we go. So the big piece, big change from our last session, wanting as we move back to virtual, wanting to improve the process for everybody. So to be clear, for our applicants, just wanted to go over this to make sure everybody was getting what they needed. So at the request of CSAB, I'll do a quick introduction of the county, the LEA, just to kind of an overview. And then the applicant will have 10 minutes of uninterrupted time to introduce the board, talk about their petition, say what they want to say. Then CSAB will have a full up to 25-minute uninterrupted discussion. And at this time, we'll only hear from CSAB. So for our applicants, please no interjections or comments or questions. CSAB will have their full time. And then the applicant board will have an additional 10-minute closing statement. So if you need to take any type of notes from the CSAB discussion that you want to respond to, you respond in your 10-minute closing statement time, and then the full CSAB will take up to an additional 10 minutes to discuss and make their decision about moving forward. So that's the process that we'll run today, and we hope that all of our applicants will honor that process to help facilitate this being virtual. All right, Ashley, I think we're ready. If there are no questions, to start with Beam Academy, I believe. Beam is going to locate in Blaine. There is presently 1 charter school there and 2 elementary schools within 5 to 6 miles of where their proposed site is. We'll skip to the next slide. They actually have a facility address that they've located. It's identified in their charter. Here are their proposed grade levels and enrollment. They're going to start K through 5 with 132, roughly 22 students per grade. They're going to add a grade each year at about 22 students until year 4 when they get to K8 with 198 total students. They will participate in the National Lunch Program. Transportation will be provided. Weighted lottery, no. There's the address again. We did not receive an LEA impact statement. They are a repeat applicant. Torchlight is their partner, and completeness is yes. And so there are no questions from me at this time. I will turn it over to the applicant board chair, Beam Academy's board chair, to make introductions and start their 10-minute opening statement.
Mr. Tucker, this is Ms. Reeves. Are you ready?
Can you hear me?
I hear someone.
Yes, this is Mr. Tucker. Can you hear me?
Okay, good. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, good morning. My name is Tyrone Tucker. I am the board chair. I spent my summers here in North Carolina working with my grandparents on their farm and developed a love for agriculture. I now live on that 17-acre farm in Blaine County, which I lease out, and it is producing peanuts this season. I have 20 years experience as a gardener. I'm a minister for the last 17 years and have served also in the prison ministry for the last 17 years. I have worked with at-risk youth for well over 31 years. I'm a community advocate, member of several community-based Thank you. And at this time, I will introduce our next board member, Elise Tucker.
Hi, I'm Elise Tucker. I am a former teacher at Youth Build, which is a department of public and for its students that are seeking degree, and a homeschooling networker. I've been a substitute teacher in Washington, D.C., PG County, Maryland, and in the New Hanover County school systems. Right now, I'm the chair of the Education Committee of the Community Action Group in New Hanover County. I've served as a judge for senior projects and a proctor for the COSIS testing on the GED students, candidates at Cape Fear Community College. Educationally, I have a bachelor's degree in mass communications from Winston-Salem University, and I also attended graduate school at the University of Maryland at College Park, where there I worked in the Office of Retention and Recruitment for minority students. My background is in journalism as an editor-in-chief of a weekly newspaper and assistant to doctoral candidates as they are seeking to do their thesis. I provide support for them. I'm an avid community worker. I've served on a lot of boards, such as the 1898 Committee, the New Hanover Regional Medical Centers Committee for Helping Parents with Children, and I am now a board member of Northwest Youth Foundation, on the executive board of a Sister Circle Durham. I'm a realtor. I'm a member of the Cape Fear Realtors Association and the National Association of Realtors. Thank you so much. It's nice to be here.
Okay, the next board member I will introduce is Mr. William Blanks. William, are you on? Well, we'll come back to him. Next member, Marjorie Graham.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Marjorie Graham. I'm a lifelong resident of the East Arcadia community. I grew up on a farm in the community where my parents planted all types of crops, including tobacco, corn, peanuts, sweet potatoes, and vegetable gardens. I am an educator. I taught school for 34 years in the New Hanover County school system, where I served for the last 20 years as department chair and was twice nominated as Teacher of the Year for my school. I worked on numerous committees throughout the years, helping to improve the programs and services for students in New Hanover County. I have also stayed involved in my community through my church, through Girl Scouts. I was a Girl Scout leader for over 15 years. I've volunteered with the East Arcadia Fire Department and helped with several youth groups in the community. I'm passionate about making a difference in my community and helping wherever I'm needed. And next, I will introduce Ms. Lillian Graham.
Can you hear
Let's,
me?
Ms. Graham?
Yes.
We will, we're gonna introduce you last. I want to bring William on now. He's on.
Okay.
William.
Yes. My name is William Blaine. I'm from East Arcadia, born and raised. Farming at the age of 5 on my family farm, helping my family raise tobacco, harvest, and market it, and take it to the market. We've always had a vegetable garden and several different types of animals. I worked in finance for 14 years, working my way up from a teller to currently I'm a loan officer. And I actually ended up going back to farming to help de-stress from work. I began farming with my family about 10 years ago. You can hear me, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I began teaching my children ways of the family farming and farming with the climate change and with the technology involved in farming now. So that was just a little piece about myself.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Graham.
All right, my name is Lillian Graham. I grew up and remained in East Arcadia for all of my life, with the exception of the years that I was in school. I graduated from East Arcadia High School in 1961. I graduated from A&T State University in 1965, cum laude, and with a major in biology and a minor in chemistry. I taught for 25 years. I went to Pembroke in 1988 and got my master's in administration and supervision. I also attended the Rural Leadership Institute at Pembroke. I was a graduate of the first class. I was a principal for 15 years, a teacher for 25 years, and a central office administrator for 7 years. I'm a member of East Arcadia Town Council, where I serve as Mayor Pro Tem. I'm also the director of East Arcadia Senior Center. I've been on numerous county boards, including the hospital board and the library board. I grew up on a farm. I've always loved the outdoors, and I love farming. And I forgot to tell you that I organized and ran summer school programs at Pleasant Union Baptist Church for 2 summers, and many years we had after-school programs. The summer school program and the after-school program, we had volunteer teachers. They were paid no money, but they did an excellent job, and we had excellent programs. The last summer that we ran it, we had 140 students in the program. I love farming. I garden. I always had a big garden. And my extra produce is given away. I never sell anything from my garden. I just love to do it for exercise. And I think it has helped me attain the longevity that I've been blessed with.
Great. Thank you. I would like to just take the last minute to introduce this Beam. This is our board's second time coming before the Charter School Advisory Board to present Beam Academy. Beam stands for Building Excellence and Agricultural Mastery. As a school, we are first and foremost concerned with academic excellence. Our board also vested and familiar, as is our community. Blaine County ranks near the top in agriculture revenue in the state.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
And it accounts for just under 10% of our country's industry. An agricultural profession is 600% more likely in Blaine County compared to the rest of North Carolina. Our theme of agriculture will empower and engage our students because of its predominant presence among our community. Farmers are aging out of the profession in Blaine County, and our school will help students whether they pursue college and or stay in Blaine County as farmers. This school is long overdue, and we have come to advocate for it in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. I'm sure you heard my timer going off. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Just a clarification before I turn to CSAB board members and ask for questions. Are there familial relationships on the board? I assume you and Miss Elise are husband and wife?
Yes.
And are the two Graham ladies related?
Yes, yes, they are.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to turn to charter board members, and let's go through and get our questions for the Beam board. And if there is a question specifically that you think that one member should answer over another, state that when you want to ask your question. First, I'll open it up for any concerns or questions from the applicant, initial applicant information, and the EMO, first few pieces of the application. So, CSAB, do we have any questions or concerns?
This is Cheryl. First of all, I want to say that I do think that the agriculture idea is novel, and that I do think it will be engaging for students, and it's nice to see something that's a little different. I do have some concerns about the management company, and this is something that I texted Tiffany earlier, but I haven't heard back. The registered agent for the nonprofit is Torchlight Academy LLC. I'm not exactly sure what a registered agent is legally, but I would need some clarification on, does that mean that the management company holds the charter? Because that can't happen. In the records for the management company, there were financial records presented for Torchlight School. So are Torchlight School and Torchlight LLC the same thing? And so is Torchlight School actually doing this? And if that's the case, then how does that work out financially? And there were, it requested bank statements for the 3 prior years for the nonprofit, not for the nonprofit, for the management company, and those were not there. You want me to do all my questions now, or just, are we going through sections?
Let's do sections, Cheryl. So, Mr. Tucker, I too had the question about the registered agent, because I couldn't understand why the board itself did not list itself as a registered agent, being that you're going to be the one that holds the charter and are inevitably responsible for the school. Can you speak to that?
Yes, the board would be over the charter. The management team or company are just, the management. They would be doing just that, but they would not hold the charter. The board, the dean holds the charter.
So when you got the application, it's got the primary contact as the executive manager. So, I think that's where the confusion lies, because if we have the Office of Charter Schools, if the State Board of Education, if FBS, anybody from the Department of Public Instruction has an issue or a concern with Beam Academy, they need to be in contact with the board, because ultimately the board is the one who holds the contract.
Right, that's something that could be the adjustment on that.
Okay. So can you answer the question about the Torchlight School versus the LLC? Do you know about how that business is run? Because inevitably that affects how your business will be run.
Yeah.
I'll defer that to.
I think that probably some confusion came in there, because Torchlight Academy, it's a Torchlight school that is operating in Roberts. It is different from Torchlight Academy, the company itself. So it could be possible, it sounds like it is, that that's the confusion for that comes across on paper. But for us, we are very clear that that they are not the ones to hold the charter, and that we are responsible for, you know, the day-to-day operations and, you know, that sort of thing for, you know, for Beam.
Ms. Franz, this is Mr. Friend. I have a question, but I don't want to overstep Ms. Turner's question. So, I don't know, Cheryl, do you want to? Yeah, did you have additional questions, Cheryl? You want to get answered? Did I just, because I have some questions too related to the EMO.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I guess my question is, first of all, I appreciate the introduction of all the board members. And one of my questions as I read the application was, to what level of experience and knowledge do the board members have in an agricultural background? And so that certainly came out loud and clear. So I appreciate that, that all of you have some background there. I guess my question is what was it about Torchlight that made you want to partner with them? What other EMO did you look at and consider? Did you consider doing this on your own without an EMO? How did you learn about Torchlight, and why did you select them over other EMOs, and specifically what other EMOs did you look at?
Okay, thank you. I'd like to speak to that. One of the things that happened, there are a couple of things. For one, I was familiar with Torchlight School in Raleigh many years ago, and I was very impressed with the school. When I went, I was very impressed with what they were doing. And not only was I impressed, I was aware that a lot of their students had done so very well in their transition, either from homeschool or non-traditional settings, and moved into that school. So that was one of the things. But in addition to, when we looked at the company, they were willing to go into this at risk with us. We thought that was really something that we needed. Also, the people the type of pool that their students are very similar to the students that we are seeking to serve. And they have a proven track record in success with that over the last 4 years. So we enjoyed that as well. We did think about just possibly not having a management company, but we thought that with our backgrounds, pulling together everything, that we could really benefit from having a company that could help us with some of the professional development, some of the budgeting type of things, and just having someone with us that had a lot of experience. And we chose Beam particularly because they serve the type of students that we are interested in doing so, and they do it quite well.
If I may ask a follow-up, did you interview or go visit any schools run by other EMOs in your decision about partnering with Torchlight or doing it on your own?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, thank you for that answer. I was wondering if did you look at other EMOs? Did you visit schools that other EMOs may have been managing?
Yes, I did look at some other schools and looked behind, to see who they were managed by. But really, once I looked at other schools and looked at what Torchlight had been providing and what they had been doing, for me, I don't know, we talked about it with our board, but, that was pretty much a clincher. And then when we did look at the other EMOs, that we still just came back to the same thing. Torchlight really is, we feel like the best fit for us.
I'll address this to Ms. Tucker, since she has answered these questions with the EMO. Ms. Tucker, give me in a nutshell your understanding of what your EMO is going to provide for you, and how the finances are going to work.
Okay, well, they're going to one thing they're going to do is they are operating at risk. So this first year, as you can see from the application, they are going to defer the payment to them into the next year. We are going to be responsible for the day-to-day operations. They're going to help us with professional development. They're going to help us with some of the budgeting things. They're going to help us with marketing. They are going to help us with integrating our curriculum into the core standards that we're looking at. So I don't know if that fully answers your question. So if you have something else that I haven't covered, feel free to just remind me if I haven't taken care.
Yeah, so when you say no fees for year one, you're saying they're not going to charge the 10% that the contract specifies. Is that what you mean?
Yes, it's going to be deferred. I guess you could call it deferred, if you will. And that first year, we'll have a surplus of about $144,000. If the management company took the 10%, it would be about $112,000, and that would leave $32,000 or something like that. So by them being, and so what that shows is that we're certainly able to pay them. They are budgeted, able to pay them, but they have agreed that we would be, we can do that after all of the other contingencies have been met.
So speaking of that surplus, isn't it in the contract that they receive the surplus?
Yes, as I said, I guess the deferment is the word that I used. So the next year, they will start getting that 10%. And if you'll notice in the budget, it actually goes, we provide for that money to be paid over 5 years in the event that we stay there. And if I'm not answering that fully anymore, maybe our budget person can help us a little bit more, but that is the understanding.
Yeah, I'd like to interject. My name is Blaine. First year, we did have a budgeted surplus. So Torchlight would receive their 10% after we made sure that the school successfully ran, because that's the goal of Torchlight and Beam Academy, make sure that the school is successful. So at the end of the first year, if everything works out right, we would pay them out of that surplus. Now, as far as your question with retaining the surplus, we would keep our $31,000 at the end of the year. Like I said, if everything works out right with the budget, budgets change. So if everything works out properly with the budget, we pay Torchlight their $112,000, and then we would retain our $31,000. That would be their management fee, their 10%.
Okay, I believe, and I may be wrong, Mr. Blanks, but according to the contract, the money, the board receives the money, and then the board will turn that money over to the EMO, because with whatever funds you receive, I think that first year's 1.1 million, something like that, roughly. All that money is then turned over to the EMO, and then the EMO is responsible for student accounting, financing, payroll, for everything. And in the contract, it says that the board has a $25,000 allowance budget. But if other board members, did I read that incorrectly, that 100% of the funds are going over to the EMO?
That's my understanding as well. And so that $32,000 that would be left over at the end, actually, minus if the $25,000 isn't already in the budget, they would get the $25,000, but the balance would go to the EMO anyway. Right. So they're going to get their $112,000 one way or other, and they're going to get whatever's left over as well, because everything goes to the EMO with the exception of the $25,000.
Okay, and that was my understanding when I read it.
Mine too, Sharon.
So, Mr. Blanks, is that not what the board is understanding? So basically, the board will never have more than $25,000 a year.
Well, them being the fiduciary, they would handle the funds with as a fiduciary. That means, as a fiduciary, they're the one that's going. Let me see how to say this. With the fiduciary, they're going to be the ones kind of titled with the fund. So we have control over the funds, because we as the board will decide how the funds are spent. They're just our fiduciary.
But according to the contract, Mr. Blanks, all the money that is left over after the budget is expended goes to the EMO.
That is correct. May I ask a question of the chair? This is Rita Hare.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Tucker, have you reviewed the budget? Did you prepare the budget for being?
I prepared the budget, not fully. Management team primarily prepared the budget.
Have you reviewed the figures in the budget?
Yes.
Do you know who receives the $10,000 for student accounting and who receives the $24,000 for financial?
Could you repeat that?
Who is being paid the $10,000 for student accounting and the $24,000 for financial in the first year? Who was that being paid to?
I'm not quite clear on that.
Okay, I think it's being paid to the EMO. Typically, if the EMO had a management fee, in other budgets I've noticed, there are not fees for the student accounting and the financial, but in your case, since the management fee is being waived or actually deferred, there are fees for these other items. Those two equal $34,000. There are other fees in there that may also enter into this kind of category. Are you aware that your contract with the EMO says that if you terminate your contract with him before it expires, that you are indebted to them for $250,000?
Yes.
Do you know at which point that stipulation would take effect, because the contract has already been signed and completed?
Right. If the contract is broken, then some type of a payment arrangement would be made. If the school is going well, it wouldn't affect the budget of the school. And some type of a payment arrangement would be made outside of the budget of the school. And as long, and the school budget would be intact. It would be, no problem. It wouldn't affect the school budget at all. If the school was, for whatever reasons, was not successful and was closed down for whatever reason, then that would be a loss on their part, where they wouldn't receive. That's just part of the at risk that the contract states them puts them under. So if the school was to fail for whatever reasons, then they wouldn't receive any of that. They would just be, that would be a loss on their end.
Mr. Tucker, do you have that in writing?
Is that in writing? It's in the contract.
Yes, sir, I've read the contract. I didn't read that. I'm wondering if you have it in writing.
I have access to. We have that somewhere. I don't have it right before me, but that is the case.
And you have executed the contract. You consider it executed and enforced?
Yeah.
If I could step in for a moment.
Yes,
please. That's at risk. My name's William. That's where the at-risk part steps in with it. We did have discussions with the EMO and links about that. The board did about the $250,000, the cancellation for the contract. We did verbally have discussions about this at length with the EMO.
So, Mr. Blanks, my question is, if the school has been in operation for 2 years, yet all the board is allowed to retain is $25,000, and you want to sever the contract, where are you going to get $250,000 to pay this? I think it's called liquidated damages fee.
You are correct on that. Yes, ma'am. We, like I said, in the discussion that we had with the EMO, they let us know that if we decided to terminate their contract, we could work out payment arrangements with them over a length of time. It doesn't have to be one upfront payment.
Okay, but that means you, the board members, making that payment. There would be no payment from the school.
No, ma'am. It would come from our charter. Beam Academy would be responsible for it, not us individually.
So that would mean the state.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, it broke up a little bit.
It seems that you're saying the state would be responsible for paying the termination fee.
This is Stephen. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I mean, I think that's conflating a couple things here. You know, if they're paying for it out of revenue, just like anything else, I don't think it's necessarily the state. But I guess the question I have is, how much different is this contract than the multiple other EMO contracts we have between schools and Torchlight, since we're spending so much time on this?
The other two schools have the same contract that we're reviewing.
And I'm talking about ones that we've already approved that have the same contract.
We've only approved one. And I think the issue is, does the board understand the contract is more what we're trying to assess than the contract itself.
Correct.
Yes, we do understand contract.
Mr. Tucker, what specific measures will the board use to determine whether or not the management company is being effective?
What measurements will we use?
Yes, basically, how are you going to hold them accountable for your school?
Well, we would have reviews, you know, monthly reviews, quarterly reviews, yearly reviews to compare, you know, best practices of a management team or company, for one thing.
Charter board members, are we ready to move on to the mission and ed plan? I think we've spent a bit of time on the first two sections.
Yes.
I'd like to entertain any questions you might have. You can present to the dean board.
Sure, this is Hilda. They make a big emphasis on community, and I would like to know which organizations in the community they will partner with, since they do have a focus on agriculture as well as their backgrounds. And I didn't see evidence of surveys from parents and the community for their support.
Chair, I also have a question. This is Rita Hare. I'd like to know if they have visited any schools that are successfully implementing this curriculum and agricultural focus, if they've studied or visited or are aware of any other schools who are doing this successfully. Thank you.
So, Mr. Tucker, whomever you think would be best to answer this on the board, which organizations in your community are supporting you? What other schools have you visited, been in contact with that have the agriculture focus and are using this agriculture curriculum? And there was one other. We'll start with those two.
Parent surveys.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Hilda.
Sure, no problem.
The application did not have a parent survey, so can you speak to that?
Okay, I'll defer to Ms. Tucker.
Thank you. In regard to the surveys, we do have surveys. One of the things that we did run into this year, of course, was not being able to hold the public forums and that sort of thing because of the pandemic. And also, even though we could, have things virtually, et cetera, it just really seemed like something not to do, as people were really kind of struggling to survive and make adjustments and not even knowing what kinds of schools and situations they were going to have. But we do have a board that is very much in contact with the community. Remember, we have a mayor pro tem. We have a person, one of our board members, and that same board member actually is on the town council. Mr. Tucker is very well entrenched in the community. So really are all of the board members. And we have been talking extensively to people who are very much excited about this opportunity. So, and we also recognize that the schools in the area are really having some struggles, and some of the students are also, the students and the parents really are looking for a school of choice. And so we thought that especially being connected to the agricultural background of the area would fit well. So that's another reason that they're really excited. Some of the organizations that we've talked, one is the Northwest Youth Foundation, the Blaine County Agricultural Place is willing to work and help us with that. We've talked to many farmers in the area that are as well very excited and have agreed to help us. Cow farmer, one is a goat farmer, one is a peanut farmer. We also have connections with some of the early childhood centers in here. One of our board members has a history with those groups as well, and they have also agreed this is something that they would like to see, and agreed that they would help to support this type of school. There's and to answer the agricultural, other schools that have done this. There's a place here called Sankofa. It is a farm actually, but they have students. And when we looked at what they were doing and watched some of the videos and talked, and actually watched videos of the people who were the students that were there, they have shown a great success. They have a 16-year-old who is a certified beekeeper, and also now, and some of these schools are not necessarily local, but on the National Agricultural Literacy Curriculum, one of the things that they have, which is really good, is they have links to some of the teachers and the schools that have been implementing that program across the country. So although we weren't able to physically go to some of them, we were able to visit their schools in that way. And they have been extremely successful. They are doing things like getting their students to come up with Bluetooth irrigation systems. They are able to use farming and their gardens to actually one person, they use their garden to help decrease the suicide rate in their school. So this is very exciting for us to be able to offer that, and we can see that it's been successful in many other schools across the nation.
That would have been very good information to have included in the application. Thanks.
Yes,
I would like to add to that, if I may. My name is Lillian Graham, and I'm a graduate of A&T, and Randolph Keaton, who has a program here that's not in a school, but he's teaching children to farm, will join with us. And I'm sure we can get A&T to come out and help us, and also the ASCS office in the county will come out to any area and help with forming. So we have resources, and we have just about any parent around here over 40 knows something about forming. So we have the resources.
Ms. Tucker, what is the status of the current school in East Arkania? Is there an elementary school there?
Yes, there's an elementary school. It's called East Arcadia, and their performance of the last 4 years have been DFD. And they, yeah, so I don't know. There is a...
Yeah, that's what I was asking. And how many students do they serve?
I forget right off the top of my head. I just had that, but I know that Miss Graham has that. Marjorie.
Yes, this is Marjorie Graham. There are students at East Arcadia School from kindergarten through 4th grade. And right now, with enrollment, there are approximately 70-some students, but currently due to the pandemic, there are only about 30 students in attendance and others who are attending virtually.
Ms. Graham, did you say there's only 70 students in the whole school?
In the whole school. Most of the students have enrolled at other charter schools, or they are attending schools in other counties or in the Elizabethtown area. But that school has lost, you know, their population of students. Parents just are having some issues with the overall test scores at that school yearly.
Okay, that's a wow. Charter board members, we need to move on to the ed plan. I think we kind of covered that. Any questions with governance, operations, and finance?
Let's see, Cheryl, I think they mentioned that the board would supervise the lead administrator. I don't quite understand why. And let's see. I think they should have decided the day and month that they will be meeting already in time. And if they're going to have PD, please be sure to include the roles and responsibilities of board members. The resumes, I don't recall seeing any resumes of the board members.
They were attached later, Hilda.
Okay. And the principal address for the corporation was not included in the bylaws. And the month for the annual meeting was not noted in the bylaws. They said they would meet annually, but not the month. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilda. So I think the questions regarding the bylaws, that would be something that would definitely be cleared up during the ready to open process. That team makes really good, make sure that all those things like that are tidied up before they're allowed to. We make a recommendation for them to open on operational and financial questions.
Sherry, I have some questions relative to operation and finance. They go together. So the organizational chart shows the leader, an instructional leader who supervises all the staff. That's also in the narrative. But if you go to the budget, there's no budget for this instructional leader person. There's the school leader, and then there's an assistant administrator that makes less than the teacher, so that can't be the person. So how does that work? Also, the transportation plan says there'll be a part-time transportation person, but the budget says transportation is contracted. And so I'm not sure what what happens with that. And then I don't see enough core teachers when they get to middle school. They never get past 9 teachers. When they add 7th grade, they go to 9 teachers. So there was 1 teacher per grade, which was fine up through 6. And then when they get to 7th grade, they only add 1 teacher, and they don't even add another teacher for 8th grade. So I don't see how they're going to meet the requirements for core teachers for middle school. Thank you.
If any other charter board members have questions regarding the operations and the budget?
Yeah, this is Bruce, Fred, thank you. The things that I had questions about. Also looking at the budget, and the amount of money being allocated for, where's it at? I'm sorry. Classroom instructional, or books and supplies, instructional materials. I don't know, it seems rather limited to me. There's $5,000 for classroom technology software, but I don't see any hardware money at all in the budget other than office. Where are the computers, that hardware technology coming from? Just 5,000 in software. In addition to Cheryl's questions that I budget.
Mr. Blanks, are you the person that we need to address the budget questions to? Or is there someone on the board that is specifically like the budget chair?
I could answer some of them. If you can give them to me one at a time, y'all had quite a few questions. So, I mean, I can answer some of them, and we can, Mr. Tucker will disperse the other ones if need be.
Okay, so one of the initial questions was on the organizational chart. It shows that there's an instructional leader. So there's a lead administrator and then an instructional leader. With the lead administrator being like the chief executive officer, if you will, and then the instructional leader would be more like the boots on the ground person for the school. That person is not reflected in the budget at all. However, there is an assistant administrator, which to us is like an instructional leader, but we're not sure if we're interpreting that correctly. But that person's salary is in the mid-30s, which is below what even the core teacher would make. So certainly that's a discrepancy, but are we misunderstanding that role?